Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. It is Thursday, the 14th of May. Welcome to Pep Talks in the Morning. My name is Felicia Holder, your host of this program every Monday to Friday from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., and also your chairman of the Progressive Empowerment Party. Joining me is one of my very dear most level-headed co-host who is going to join me in a very nice discussion today, Michelle Davis, Deputy Party Organizer on the PEP Mobilization Team. Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning, Felicia. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago.
And how are you faring this Thursday morning?
Well, I'm as good as to be expected, surviving, trying to keep myself busy, and watching the never-ending saga that continues in our country.
Listen, every time you think we're going to get over something or climb one wall, you have another one to climb. And I swear to you, just looking at the topic lineup today, it almost feels as if we were back 2 months ago because it's just new ways of discussing the same government lies, incompetency, mismanagement, and I was saying yesterday that the show tends to raise a lot more questions than the government can answer. We thankfully here can present solutions in terms of what a progressive empowerment party does. And I was also explaining to somebody last night that is how the show differs from Hima's show or shows that come and just complain. They would say, water, we have no water in Laventille. The PEP says we have no water in Laventille, but we also tell you how to decentralize water management so that Laventille could get water. So, yes, we raise many topics. It is a current event show, but we also bring a slant that brings you hope, that brings you the choice of voting a government into office that doesn't only know the issue, but knows how we plan to address and solve the issue ever given the chance of office. But before we get into what PEP can do, let's talk about what is currently being done right now. And yesterday, with Mr. Anthony Defour and I on PEP Talks, we started off with a topic that seems to just be going on and on. It seems to be never ending, this saga of this visit from the Venezuelan vice president, Miss Delcy Rodriguez. I got it now. Yesterday I could not pronounce it, and my Spanish teacher was probably just shaking her head in disappointment. But Miss
Right.
Delcy Rodriguez came to Trinidad on March the 27th, I believe it was, and raised all kind of questions and issues that was first ignored by the public and then finally taken apart, and then it was finally covered in the news. We here in the Progressive Empowerment Party held on to it like a dog holding on to a piece of meat that he never that he was waiting for. But we held on to it because we have a very short mindset, a very, I would say, short-term memory. We suffer from short-term memory in this country. Something will happen. It would be the hot button issue of the day, maybe for next day or two, a couple, maybe 5, 7 days if you're so lucky, and then it tends to die off. And it dies off because people lose interest, not because it was solved or resolved, or not because we got any answers, but because we have grown accustomed to having a 9 day or 7 day, depending on how interesting it is, mentality. But we here in the Progressive Empowerment Party, we hold on to it because until we have answers, we would continue to raise the question. And yesterday, you would have learned this breaking news was put out into the public space by none other than PEP political leader Philip Edward Alexander, who revealed that despite the denials of our dear Minister of National Security, Mr. Stuart Young, besides the denials by our Prime Minister that they had no idea who was on the flight coming from Venezuela, a document that basically an exemption letter which had to be granted because our airspaces were closed at that time, and the only person according to the public health ordinance that can allow an aircraft to enter our airspace is the Minister of National Security. And on that exemption letter, there were clearly the names of the delegation and the passport numbers. And over to you, Stuart Young, because since then he has been missing in action, unable to answer these questions that the media has finally played catch up on and posed to him. Michelle, this was all over Facebook yesterday. Breaking news. What are your thoughts, my dear?
Well, first, what I wanted to point out to the citizens is that, how is this relevant to you? Because as you indicated, we do here in Trinidad have a very short-term memory. But you want to know, how does this impact me? How does this visit impact me? What does it have to do with me? Well, it has a lot to do with you because you are being governed by these same people that are displaying untruthfulness, lack of transparency. This story has continued, and as Felicia indicated, we still haven't heard the truth from those that attended this very secretive meeting. Instead, we continue to hear lies. We continue to hear false stories. We continue to be brushed off as though it has nothing to do with us citizens, when in reality, the outcome or potential outcome of this scenario can be potential U.S. sanctions against Trinidad and Tobago, because we have already advise the public that we are in violation of a treaty from 1947 that was in agreement that Trinidad is part of. So how does this affect you? It does affect you because you're sooner or later, should sanctions be imposed, you may not have access to groceries. You may not have access to medical products. So this is why we bring this attention. On the hand of those that are in office and currently in office, they continue to deceive us, Felicia, continue to act as though we should not be privileged to this information, act as though, why are you asking these questions? I think we were shrugged off about 2 weeks ago by the Prime Minister. You don't need to know. It's none of your business. That, I think, basically that's what we were told, but we do need to know because this is impacting an entire nation. And until we realize that those in office are entitled and must be transparent to us as citizens, we're never going to get the big picture. This is a very relevant issue that needs answers.
Exactly. And for me, apart from it needing answers, you touched on this. For me, what this raises most, and when I saw Philip break that news yesterday, I copied it and I posted it in my own words because a couple weeks ago, when at the start, sorry, of the grants and here and government throwing out candy, 1 million for you, 1 million for you. I mean, I'm being here, but when the whole euphoria over the government giving and everybody was caught up and oh my god, they love us so much, I came out and I made a statement, as did several members of the Progressive Empowerment Party, because we are seasoned in this and we have learned that your words are nothing when compared to your actions. And I mean, looking down today, 2 months since we have started that COVID-19, and we're going to talk about the actions of the government in a little bit, but looking down today, can you say that the actions have actually mirrored the words of the government? It's a question that's going to come up in a bit. But the reason I said that is because back then when they came out and they were throwing all of these items out and telling the public what you can expect, and people were caught up in the temporary euphoria of feeling like they had a benevolent government. I came out in the midst of all of that and to the anger of many people on my timeline, and I said, don't just trust blindly what the government is telling you, because this is a government that has been known to lie. They have been known to cover up things. We have an AV oil scandal that literally trickled away into nothing thanks to our 9-day memory. we had this email gate situation where we had a sitting opposition leader at the time, now turned prime minister, tell what we found out not after he used this piece of information to get into office, that we found out that everything that he said was untrue, and he can use the parliamentary privilege to get away with it. He can use the rules and bend them in order to avoid having to be investigated. But a lie is a lie is a lie is a lie, and we as the public know what he said to be. We know for a fact now that it was not true, and he could probably say, well, it was told to me. But you are the sitting prime minister now of a country. You were then the opposition leader of a country. You had the responsibility to verify your information, to say that this was told to me, so I believed it to be true. You're trying to tell me that you couldn't do an investigation. You're trying to tell me that there was nobody that you know that could dig up and trace an email and make sure that it was real. All of this, I mean, for me, his excuses, and since then all of the explanations as to why email gate was and came out as it and ended up being as it is, just all a lot of pappy show to cover up the fact that this was a blatant mistruth, untruth, mistruth. What do you think? It was not real. It was deception.
Right.
And whoever put out that information in the public space, whether it originated from him, they clearly lied, and that he had the responsibility to protect the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. He had the responsibility to do his due diligence and ensure that the information was correct, and he did not. And that information came out into the public space, and it led to the removal of the UNC government from well, UNC from government. Not saying that I wanted them to stay there, but you use deception to more or less overthrow a government, because that led to their fall, you can say. UNC, they did not recover from that on the at the polls. But back to what I was saying in terms of the deception of this government, I told people, please be wary, please be careful. Don't just take everything hook, line, and sinker. Just listen, listen, ask questions, wait to hear if things are adding up. And for me, this issue with the Venezuelan vice president coming into our country, this issue with our Minister of National Security, the only person who could have granted them permission to come into the country, this issue with the Prime Minister saying he had no idea who was on that plane and who came into the country, it's just another extension of the lies that we have been repeatedly told. And for me, that is a main concern. It's a main concern because these people telling us that they are spending $6 billion, that is $6,000 million, on our COVID-19 response. We are trusting these people with money that we have no way of tracking, tracing, and reporting on. They tell us we spend $934 million. We have to assume it wasn't 935. This is how we operate, because we all know transparency and accountability is not something that is on the forefront of this particular government. So the lies, Michelle, that the lies,
Yes.
as much as people are saying, so what, she came, okay, oh God, he lied. From the time somebody, you find out that they have been untruthful to you, everything that follows, you have to question, and everything that preceded that you have to question, because at what point did you lie to me before? Your boyfriend or your husband, you found out that after 10 years of marriage he cheated on you. Did he do it 5 years before? Is he going to do it again? These are the questions that you would ask in your own relationship. We basically have the same thing. We have a 5-year relationship with the government that we elected, unfortunately, into office, and now we have to ask these questions. If you are lying about this, what else could you be lying
What
about?
exactly, and what we're failing to realize is as we mentioned at the Progressive Empowerment Party, we have always stressed leaders and those elected to office should be held accountable for their actions. And I saw a post yesterday, and it pretty much summed up what 57 years of history in Trinidad, political history, has indicated. Every party, with the exception, I believe, of one, has been plagued by corruption. The two major parties are plagued, and they were voted out of office because of corruption. In 2010, UNC was PNM was voted out. Then they were voted back in because UNC was voted back. And we continue to accept this corruption, as we indicated Monday when I was on, as part of the norm. And we should not be accepting this. It comes back to when you were a child. And my mother would say a liar can never keep track of it, of their lies, right?
Yeah.
And we have seen this story play out where they are blatantly, for the past 2 weeks, just simply lying and brushing off the public instead of coming forth with and saying, okay, this is what happened, or this is what transpired. And if it is something that is against office and an action that is corruptible, they should be held accountable. But we as citizens don't take it seriously. So hence the reason we continue to receive these very bogus excuses for governance. And I wanted to tell you, Felicia, I was thinking, I worked for the cruise lines, and part of my job was clearing the vessels in every country we went to. So I'm extremely versed in immigration. And you cannot, prior to your arrival, you have to send a manifest, and the manifest includes everyone that is on the vessel or the plane at that time. And you have to get the appropriate levels of clearance. This is done 20, minimum 24 to 48 hours prior to your arrival. That is immigration clearance. That's how it works in most countries. So to sit and say you did not know, that means you and I, Felicia, after the show, we can go to the Prime Minister's office and say, can we see the Prime Minister? And literally, I guess he would accept us based on his very ridiculous statement of he did not know who was meeting with him today.
Exactly. I mean, Michelle, I remember last year when we did that protest out of the outside the Prime Minister's office there in Sinclair, to get a letter, Michelle, into him, we had to go through all kind of levels of security clearance and sign your name and this and literally so that they could track you down to your probably a bra size if they had to. And you're trying to
Yes.
tell me it's so easy for a delegation from Venezuela of all places, of a country that 2 days before the president, the sitting president of the country, had sanctions imposed on him, and you're trying to tell me that we had no idea who was coming, and he's sticking to that story. And I want to see if Stuart Young is going to stick to that story because he has been missing in action, like I said, since then. And I have been literally refreshing my news feed, literally going on the local newspaper story pages. I asked you this morning, was there any reports in
Right.
it? Because I watched news last night from start to end, and they it's almost as if they did not want to bring up that issue. It came out today in an article finally where he said, where the report said that he has not answered the questions. But I want to know more so out of curiosity, how do they intend to spin this one? So we didn't know who was coming, or this document that said that we know who was coming, Photoshop. What are they going to say? I need to know.
Right.
I need to know
But the
because I
lies
need
are
to
going
know.
to continue. The lies are going to continue, Felicia. The lies are going to continue because Philip did a post, and it pretty much summed it up. As they would say, drop the mic on this one. Philip put a post. If it had anything to do with Aruba, where were the Aruba representatives? If there was a purchase to Aruba, where were the representatives from Aruba? If it had to do with COVID-19, why did we have a delegation of oil executives instead of the Ministry of Health from both Venezuela and Trinidad? So, right there and then, those two questions, if you don't even want to ask yourself anything, ask yourself that. If it had to do with Aruba, where was the Aruba delegation? If it was about COVID-19, where was the Ministry of Health delegation? Point blank. right? We don't even need to go complicate it. But instead, he's going to stay missing in action, and they're going to spin this story because they know their followers fall for the very minimal explanations of their behavior. And as you indicated, our 9 day memory kind of elapses, and next week we're in euphoria because perhaps we received a food basket or we received a $1,500 grant, and we think that is enough to take us through the next 5 years of governance.
Indeed. And I forgot to say this at the start of the program, which I usually do, but please hit share, like to your groups, to your feed, to your WhatsApp, and let everybody join in on the conversation this morning. And that question, Michelle, about where would the Aruba delegates, where would they in all of this that was happening? And I asked Sean and Anne Marie not yesterday, about 2 days ago, how do you think the PNM sycophants plan to spin this one? And I mean, there's a particular person who a particular PNM blogger. He says that I am his favorite pepper. I don't Poor guy, he thinks that he can convert me. I have more hopes of converting him. Um Very die hard. You might see him on Facebook posting a lot on the behalf of the PNM, a paid blogger to 10,000. He boasts that he gets paid in the US to do this. He doesn't reside here, by the
Mm,
way. He lives abroad, and he has, I call him the spin doctor. This man will take straw and spin it into gold, I swear to you. And there would be people who would see him literally finding the tiniest piece of straw to turn into gold, and they would still believe him. And he was missing in action yesterday. Even he could not find the answer to spin this one, and if he did, I wanted to know how he could spin this one. I'm getting calls already. Someone, this person just messaged me to say good morning to Michelle and Felicia. We are taking calls from 9 o'clock this morning. I know y'all are very excited to jump into the conversation, but we aren't taking calls until 9. We want to discuss all of the topics that we have laid out today. So back to this whole spin of what transpired. I am very interested to see the response of the Minister of National Security. I tell you, I'm literally waiting at the edge of my seat to see how he plans to explain this one, and more so out of curiosity, because they have a very ingenious way of lying. And when I say ingenious, it's almost as if they sit down and they say, all right, fellas, well, the game is up. They figure us out what we can throw, and they probably take turns like throwing answers or throwing explanations into the pool, and whichever one sounds least ridiculous. But it literally sounds like, I tripped and I fell and this happened, and then it's
mhm,
madness, Michelle. Honest to God, madness. And it perplexes me how people continue to lap it up. And I mean, but if you take party loyalty out of it, if this was happening to the UNC, let's put it that way, if this was happening to
mhm.
even the Progressive Empowerment Party, would you be thinking critically, or would you still be falling for all of these lies and explanation? And this is what I always encourage people to think of. Put down your party loyalty. Take your
Yeah,
party card and rest it down, put it on the counter for a while, and ask yourself, how could the Minister of National Security not know who he allowed into Trinidad and Tobago airspace? Is it that easy to board a plane as a terrorist and fly to any country that you choose
mm.
to do whatever you may? Is it that easy? And when you ask those ridiculous questions, is when you come up with the answer that obviously this can't be true. It can't be
Correct.
true.
It can't. And Felicia, you know what? I'm going to make a prediction here. When I next see you, let me see if it comes true. I'm going to predict within the next 48 hours, we will not get an answer, but we will get a distraction because we are known for distraction politics. So something is going to come out into the public that is going to throw the public's attention from this very important situation. So no, we are not going to get an answer. We are going to get a distraction, and we're going to continue with our merry way, and that is our 9 day history. Again, instead of paying attention to the answers that we deserve as citizens, we are going to get another slap in the face and we're going to move forward.
The distraction that they tried to throw in was the chicken war on Monday, but even that, Michelle, wasn't enough to make people forget. And you know what? It is our responsibility here, and that's why I take this show so very seriously. It is the responsibility of the Progressive Empowerment Party because prior to us even venturing into putting our hat in the ring for running for a government, well, running for government, running for general elections. Progressive Empowerment started out as a very strong activist group. We always said that we would act on the behalf of the people and raising these issues, keeping these questions alive in the public space, whether the media forgets about it, whether people forget about it or not. It is and has always been the responsibility of the Progressive Empowerment Party to keep such issues alive, and we will keep it alive. Whether they throw another distraction into the ring, I am almost anticipating that they're going to say COVID-19 has increased. I'm waiting for all of that, Michelle. I'm
Yes,
waiting
yes, there.
for
We're
all of
going
that.
to get
You know
a
what?
distraction. Yes.
Until we get the answer, until Stuart Young gives us an answer, until I get an answer that I'm satisfied with, which is I have lied to you as your Minister of National Security and I hereby resign from my post. Until I hear that, I'm going to keep raising it in the public space. But at the risk of over talking
Agreed.
it today, and while we wait on the answers from our dear Honorable Mr. Stuart Young, Minister of National Security and Misinformation, we move on to the next topic, which is our tax, not our tax, the government expenditure on COVID-19. And the question of the day is going to come out of this topic. Yesterday we raised, it was put out into the public space on Tuesday that the government is spending $934 million on, well, they have spent $934 million so far on our COVID-19 response, which is just about close to one-sixth of the expenditure that they intend to make for COVID-19, the total being $6 billion towards our COVID-19 response. And yesterday, Anthony and I were doing that math. And before the show this morning, Michelle and I were doing a further math because, as usual, more questions than answers. And Michelle gave me some statistics that kind of threw me for a real curve. And she was explaining to me that most of that money, Michelle, is being paid to.
Most of that money, of the $934 million that has been spent, 700 million of that are VAT refunds to business owners. I repeat, $700 million of the 934 million already spent are VAT business refunds that were due and outstanding since 2018. I really want the public to grasp what we are saying here. The question is, what does VAT refunds have to do with the COVID-19 relief program? And somehow this government has included this into the relief program, indicating that this will assist businesses during this transition of, per se, non-business. But to say 700 million has been spent when only 55 million of that 934 million has gone to the health sector, right? So we have 116 cases. If you take it and you divide the 55 million, you can roughly estimate $500,000 per case. A COVID relief program and relief program was for the obvious reasons, from a health perspective. And now we are finding out not even a tenth of that budget has not even gone to health. Also to note is that $3.9 million of that 934 million has gone to local government to assist with sanitation. I don't know about you, but Felicia, but I saw several videos over the internet where countries were engaged in deep sanitation. I mean, really deep constituency cleaning, transportation cleaning. I have not seen that to that extent here in Trinidad. So only 3.9, when this is a health pandemic we are facing, a pandemic, 3.9 million of it is only been spent on sanitation, which the public really hasn't seen. We've seen a little bit of few of activity, maybe perhaps the first week, and that's it. It has not been ongoing. It has not been proactive. 10 million of that 934 million has gone to churches. We have no accountability of where that money, what churches it went to. Yesterday on the radio, the archdiocese was advertising for collection of money. So I'm assuming they did not get part of this $10 million because they were asking the public to assist them with food distribution. 3.7 of that figure has gone to national security. 5.3 has gone to PPE for the police, and 98.1 has gone to social services. It's important to note, out of all those figures I just gave you, only $4.5 million has been issued to a measly 3,000 grants.
Michelle, and I'm shaking my head because this that information that you just put out there is so much different from just saying we spent $934 million so far on our COVID-19 response, because in theory, it sounds nice. It sounds like, whoa, this is a country that really cares. Look at money they're pelting out behind their citizens. But when you find out that more than 80% of that money is being spent to give people VAT, give them tax returns, money that should have been allocated prior to COVID-19. The question is, so where's that money then that was supposed to be for VAT, income tax returns? Where did that money go? If we're using this money to pay for COVID-19, where is the tax return money?
And it's VAT, and there's a difference because these are VAT refunds to businesses. 700 million outstanding since
Bam.
2018. Right, VAT refunds. These are overtures of VAT payments by businesses. So, for
I just made it
example,
worse.
right, which makes it even worse. It's not the tax refunds, it's the VAT overture payments to businesses only. So 80% of that 934 have gone back to big businesses, many of them big businesses that are owed in the millions of dollars. We have taken, so where was that money from 2018? That's the question we need to ask. Where did that overture go to? What account did that go to? Was it allocated? Was it spent? And again, what was it spent on that in 2020 we are still we had to allocate to give this money back? Suppose COVID-19 did not occur. We have to ask ourselves this: what would have been the status of $700 million in VAT refunds that were outstanding for the past 2 years? These are the questions we need to ask ourselves as citizens. It is projected that 80,000 applicants, and eventually we will get 80,000 applicants for the $1,500 grants. And it is sad to say, to this day, after we have been speaking about it several weeks, only a measly 2,991 has been issued.
That is, it is unbelievable. It is unacceptable. It is maddening what is taking place right now. Because I continue to say that we are you say it, Michelle, we play with monopoly money in this country. It seems like everything that is happening is fake. It seems as if we say, I mean, all of the rankings and everything that we were boasting about in the last 2 weeks, it was I honestly, it made me angry because I see now how easy it is to just look at the situation and make assumptions and make decisions based on what it may appear to be. And I I was angry because the people writing these reports obviously not living in Trinidad and Tobago. They're obviously not on the ground. They're obviously not experiencing firsthand what the people who are experiencing what the people are experiencing. Michelle, up to today, I keep getting calls and messages like these that literally break my heart. Up to today, people are messaging me, please, Miss Holder, I have nothing to feed my children. It's me and three kids, and I'm not working, and my husband. And what do you tell people like that when you are not sitting in a position of government, when you don't have $934 million to play with, when you don't have the access that these people have access to, when you don't have the power of the treasury and power of signing a release and a bond that could feed the entire population? What do you tell these people when you know and you understand how deep their needs are, but you could only do what is within your remit to do? What do you tell these people who, some of them, may still go back and say, great is thee, because they're not understanding that during their time of need and during their time of desperation, the people who were in charge of feeding them, of making sure that they had money to pay rent, who were in charge of making sure that as much as you're out of a job, we would give you a relief. You give you a salary relief in time. What do you tell them when they're not making the connection between the bad governance that they have been getting and the situation that they are in right now? And I mean, for those people who are understanding and who are opening their eyes and who are realizing that what I was saying earlier, not everything that the government said or says is the truth, and not everything that they say comes and materializes, because now we are here eight weeks later, and we're in the position that many people have not received any relief during this time. I mean, people are calling me asking me how they can go about getting the salary relief, because they are so, these forms are so cumbersome. They haven't gotten calls back yet after filling out the forms. I mean,
Exactly. Felicia, we indicated, we saw about 2 weeks ago, we saw some hamper distributions, and we knew they were politically motivated because the hampers itself had political logo. And they're still saying of this 934 million, 98 million has been spent on social services. That's not the grants. Those are food cards, food distribution. But yet we are witnessing firsthand at the Progressive Empowerment Party, people calling us literally in utter desperation that they have
Michelle,
no food.
I
Right?
just got one. I just got one. Good morning. Can you help me with a hamper, please? I need it. I just got
Right.
another one.
We are witnessing this firsthand, but instead of a reactive governance, we are seeing a governance that is taking this COVID-19 relief program as a political tool and playing it to their advantage. First of all, I was not in agreement with the MPs being given the food cards. I think they were given over 500 food cards. Well, how does that determine who do you give the food cards to? Is there any objectivity in that distribution? And you and I know there is not. That would be used as a political ploy, a political tool
Yes,
for that person. Right, $10 million given to churches. What was the basis of what churches received? What? Where is the accountability of, are they feeding their constituents, or are they feeding? Is this another? And we need to start realizing we are being played. We are being played. And 98 million, to say you have spent 98 million when the majority of the public has come out in the public and said, I am hungry. I have not received anything. I applied for this several weeks ago, and the audacity to get the answer that we have spent $934 million. Really not, you're really not being truthful to the public of where 80% of that money has gone.
definitely not. And from this topic that we are on today, of the breakdown of this $934 million that has been spent, comes our question for the day. And we, for those who are aware, we have started adding polls to our shows, polls, the answers to which will be revealed at the end of the program. And the question of the day is, are you happy with government's expenditure on social relief for COVID-19 to date? The answers to that, yes or no, please vote. We will reveal your answers at the end of the program. Vote wisely. We just gave you the breakdown, and you have to let us know if you're happy with the government's expenditure on social relief to date. And I'm glad that we phrased the question as we did, because yesterday this a question similar to this was supposed to make the poll yesterday. We ended up asking a question on the Venezuelan delegation. I didn't ask this question that I wanted to ask because TV6 actually posed a question that was similar to this. But I'm glad that we waited a day, because their question asked, are you satisfied with the government's total expenditure on COVID-19 today? And if you were looking at that overall figure of 934 million, I think, I mean, I'm not even a supporter. On paper, I would say, yeah, I mean, that seems like a reasonable, it seems like a robust sum of money to inject into the economy. But then since then, we have gotten the breakdown of what this money is being spent on, and it puts the question out there to the public. Are we Anyway, the question is out there for you guys to answer. You decide whether you think are you happy, or are you satisfied with the government's expenditure on social relief? I think one of the most important areas that needs to be addressed in during this COVID-19 time. Another one, which is the rental relief. I mean, I've been
Yeah.
helping a particular young lady fill out her form. She's so confused by it. She called me on Tuesday. She has a reduced salary, so she can't pay her full rent. However, her employer does not want to sign her form saying that she has a reduced salary, which is probably indicating that he should not be, or he's illegally giving her a reduced salary. All of these things, industrial relation matters, I anticipate are going to come up in the thousands after and during this COVID-19 period, where it is so easy to take advantage of people who would be desperate for anything that they can get during a time when you're getting nothing. I mean, but in a country like this, who do you turn to complain that you're being short paid and overworked? Who? Who do you turn to? You come on events on Facebook, you go to the newspapers and hope that they take up your concerns and run a story, and that's how we have to be. Well, people have grown accustomed to operating in this country. There's no proper recourse. There are no real agencies that you can go to when you have a problem. You experience bad customer service. Who do you turn to? You go on
Thank you.
Facebook, you write a post, you complain, you quarrel. That's the end of it. Chances are you have to go back and deal with the same person again. You have an industrial relations matter. We have what is called industrial relations court, but I have never honestly heard, Michelle, of anybody having a real matter going to them. We have unions, for God's sake, that I question
Hmm.
what are the purpose? What is the purpose of the unions when in many
Exactly.
cases you go to them and they say they can't do anything. So what is it? Just a group to make noise?
Exactly, but Felicia, we always have been talking about, it still boils down to the bureaucracy that we continue to depend on. And why did the world take the position of immediate financial disbursement? Why did the world do that? Why did it up to in I think in another I think I saw in the UK, it says up to $7,900 you are entitled to under their COVID relief program. Many countries in Europe, the figures were extremely high. Now, of course, it depends on your situation. But why did the world take the proactive approach of just immediate disbursement? Why 6 weeks, 2 months later, 6 months, 6 weeks later, we are still filling out forms, Felicia. We are still talking about forms. 6 weeks later, after a month has passed, your rent is due. There's no groceries. What do you do? And we're still talking about forms. So we have to bring it back to why does the bureaucracy continue in Trinidad? And again, it is deliberate. It shows how back in time we are as a country. We have not adapted to electronic processing. We have not adapted to electronic expedition of paperwork. Instead, we rely on hard copies. That is unheard of in first world countries. It is unheard of. There's electronic documentation available. But we, again, it is a disservice to the citizens, not to those in power.
And how do we get the people to understand that? I tell people we are home during a period where most of you are locked on to the internet. You can't go anywhere. Look, turn on your televisions, you would see the commercials, you would see the ads. Michelle, you mentioned the sanitization that you were seeing. I remember in the first
Yes,
week of this COVID-19 prior to the entire lockdown, the New York mayor of New York City, and I don't know if you've ever rode a train in New York. Those things are
yes,
dirty. And when I say dirty, even New
yes,
Yorkers complain that the trains that you would see all manner of people on the train on the trains. And I remember my friend telling me, and I read the article because she lives in New York. She said, "Girl, do you know they cleaned those trains?" She's like, "I have not seen
mhm,
one of these trains looking so clean since I moved to New York." And it's true. They literally sanitize every single train that leaves and runs throughout New York City. And I'm thinking we hear our PTSC buses, our maxis, our even our taxis. What is our sanitization process looking like? Are we really we're saying we're trying to fight this, but are we really trying to fight this? And you're looking around. I'm telling people, look around you, look outside of Trinidad and
that's
Tobago,
right.
look forward. Don't just look at what you're seeing or being spoon fed here. And you would ask these questions, and you would get the answers. And again, if you put aside your party loyalty and your party card, you would find that a lot of these things don't make sense. They don't add up. You mentioning that
Right.
you didn't like the fact that the MPs got the cards, and I agree because we have cases of people saying that they're going to get things and they're asking them to see their party card, and I don't for the life of me understand that. How could you politicize something like a crisis like this? How could you, when people seeing that video with Greatest D with the woman and the fruit basket and the okra and the dash, that is not a PNM initiative. That is a government initiative. That is a
Government.
government initiative owed to every citizen in need, whether you hold an orange card, a red card, or a yellow card. That is a responsibility of government, and not just to the people who support them, not just for the people who voted for them, but for every single citizen. Because from the time you were sworn into office, party became secondary, country came first. But a lot the people that we elect and have elected don't understand that. But the people who elected them, you need to understand that your interest, had these people had it at their forefront, the forefront of their minds, you wouldn't have to be fighting up the way you are fighting up now. You wouldn't have to be reaching out to charitable organizations and NGOs and NPOs for help. You would be going to your government. Your MP would be calling you to say whether you voted for me or not. Here is your food card, or here is your salary relief grant, or here is rent assistance with your rent. That is how a country that works looks like. Look outside, people. It's Canada right there. Right now, I
Oh,
wish I can move
there.
to Canada. Listen, I
Oh,
wish I
yes.
can move to Canada. This COVID-19 seems like a vacation, and that is what ideally. I mean, yes, it's a tough time for the entire world, but I'm watching. I have friends who live Canada. I'm watching what COVID-19 is like for them. They posting memes every day, making jokes because their money is deposited into their account. They're cool. They go to the supermarket or they have their groceries delivered to them. They're not fighting up like we have to fight up here in Trinidad and Tobago. And For the people who think that I am comparing us, it's not about comparison. It's always about wanting better for yourselves. It's always about looking forward and not just accepting the little that you get and saying, well, this is it. This can't
But
be
what
it, people. It honestly
But
can't be it.
Felicia, what about looking at the big picture and what could be? And that's what we refer to in the progressive empowerment. What could be? Everyone says, why do we reference first world countries? Trinidad is not a first world country, but what could be? Is what we should be looking forward to. We no longer can we say we don't have access to information as a country. We at every citizen in Trinidad is known for its internet usage and in the world. So we are a top internet usage country, but yet we play blind to the issues that we should be seeking information and seeking answers. And I do want to make a correction. It was not UK. It was actually France and Germany that have up to $7,500 a month for qualification for their COVID-19 relief program. The UK has you qualify up to $3,085 a month. Just as I got this information is available to you.
This is pounds and euros.
It's so I'm assuming it's their currency. It says France and Germany. As France has the highest 7,500 plus a month
Wow.
under their COVID relief program. We've talked about Canada. Canada was one of the countries from the get-go, without hesitancy, without paperwork, immediately expedited financial distribution. They acknowledge this is an issue. They acknowledge that some of their citizens are living paycheck to paycheck. Most of their citizens are going to be impacted without hesitancy. They were be in front of the US in terms of financial distribution. That's why they say Canadians are so happy because they have a
Yeah.
very proactive government. I myself, if it wasn't so cold, I would think of Canada because the way they govern from a citizen standpoint is what we deserve in Trinidad. We are not
Yeah.
questioning millions and billions. You referenced that, the agriculture. Again, of that $934 million was spent. A measly 1.3 was only spent on agriculture production distribution. So they only took $1 million of 934 that they're telling you they spent to distribute produce to the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. So let's divide that by the population of 1.4. You literally spent $1 per person.
And I still didn't get my fruit basket. And to be honest, because I'm not I would say that I either is that I don't depend on the government, or because of the situation that I'm in, I have learned to just not even consider them. But taking myself out of the position that I am in as, a chair of Progressive Empowerment Party, looking around my community now, acting as an average constituent, acting as an average citizen, I cannot say, Michelle, that I have seen or accessed any kind of information that can tell me how, as a resident, within the community of Belmont, Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West, I can't say that there has been any ready access to relief like that. So that lady who said that she got this nice little fruit basket, such
Mhm.
vegetable basket, where does she live to get that, and who does she know to get that? Because I need to know, not for me, but I need to know for the people within my community, because unless they passed around and they pass my door straight because they know I am PP, unless that happened, I have not heard of anything. I mean, I mentioned that my counselor came and made a great deal of knocking and calling out to my mom to give her some soap and masks. But other than that, I don't know of any real relief in terms of the 500 food cards. Where did they go? Would did Belmont and Port of
Exactly.
Spain know Did they even get? Was there a form to fill? Like what, where,
Correct.
who, how, why, when? This is the information I
Where
don't
are
have.
Exactly, Felicia. And where are the MPs? Where are the councillors who should have been on the ground, going house to house to assess the needs of the constituency? That's why we have the local government level. But instead, I'm down here in Cedros. I haven't seen, not that I would need it and not that I think anybody would stop at my house, but I haven't seen that on my street at all. I have not seen any activity on behalf of the local government, on behalf of the MP, indicate that they are reaching out to the citizens of this country. We indicated that. You notice in that infamous video, she did not indicate, Felicia, the constituency she came from, which leads you to believe, was it just a propaganda video? Because I have seen no one else show that type of hamper. We have seen the little pasta hamper and the rice hamper and the little 16 or 15 pieces of,
Vera,
and they put it, that was it, and some oil and some bay rum. We saw those, but notice we did not see any of those agriculture, which they are including in the budget that they have spent over $1 million in produce distribution. So again, as citizens, just as we are finding out this information and we are deep diving this information is available on your phone to ask yourself, where is this money going? I'm hungry. I haven't seen anyone in my constituency. Where you need to ask yourself this as a citizen of this country. Are you getting the government that you deserve? Are you getting the governance and representation that you deserve as a citizen?
indeed. And the, the breakdown again, the 5 million in masks. Where did that come from?
And it's
Where did that
specifically
come?
right, and it's specifically for the police service, Felicia. So it didn't say public, right? It said 5.3 PPE for police service. So I'm not too sure how that was derived that the police service only needed masks. I'm not too sure how that was, but again, we really need to look at these figures. PPE for police. It didn't have anything to do with the public. Remember, last time we met, we mentioned that there was a tender that was given out to the public, and we even actually had people ask us on the live, have we heard anything about this tender for masks? Because for the public, and up to now, we've never heard who the tender was awarded to. But we need to look at these figures. Why did the police need $5.3 million in PPE? That's a very relevant question. Why wasn't that $5 million allocated to the agriculture product distribution for the citizens? Why wasn't that allocated to social services, which includes these phone cards, which includes these food baskets? That's all that includes. It's not grants. So why was it allocated that way?
Michelle, our police force is less than 9,000 people. I am almost positive about that. I think it's actually close to a number close to seven. Last number, official number I knew was about close to 7,000 people. Let's assume. Let's assume since
Yes,
Super Gary came in, it would have increased.
yes,
It is. I know it can't be more than 9,000 people in our police service.
right.
9,000 people into $5 million. We're not spending
5.3,
hundreds of dollars. Yeah, you do the
exactly.
math in your end. I will do it on
Yes,
my end because I'm trying to understand for the police service alone, how are we spending $5 million? 5.3? Let's do that math.
yeah,
Doing that
5.3,
math
right,
right on air because I want to see. Let's do the 9,000. So we're
right,
spending $588 per mask for
per,
the police service. Let us assume, Michelle, that we're giving them,
yes,
let's divide that by 30.
right.
Because I want to see how much money we are spending per police officer. So we're giving them 19 masks each. Because I'm gonna
Correct.
assume the average cost of a mask is $30. If you're buying it
Right.
wholesale, I have to believe you're probably getting it a little bit cheaper. Is it that each police officer is getting 19.629 masks? Come on.
E- Exactly. And then yet, Felicia, we are still hearing stories of the health sector is indicating they are short on PPE. Should that not be the priority? We're still hearing up to yesterday, I was watching a video that the nurse was saying they're still short on PPE. So if we have allocated $555 million to the health sector, and they're still complaining they are short on health on PPE, and they are the front line during this pandemic. Why is $5.3 million being allocated to the police service?
I do not understand, and as far as I know, the police service actually received a batch of masks from another organization. I believe it's a private organization. And I saw that video that you were talking about with the nurses and the doctors who are still complaining about PPE, the frontline people of this disease, and it is mind-boggling. It is perplexing. When the finance minister read his budget, the budget breakdown for COVID-19, he never said anything about police officers. He said $5 million
No.
was spent in masks to distribute to the public. I'm now hearing through you that it's for police officers. Again, the maths don't add up as usual with everything and this government. And again, at the risk of over talking something that again is going to raise more questions than answers, we will take a quick break and come back. For those who are trying to call me during the first hour of the program, the lines are or will be open for you to talk it. So please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Antel is Trinidad's most reliable and technically experienced ICT company, providers of quality structured cabling, Cat6 data fiber, and power cables. We also stock cabling infrastructure basket-type cable trays for server rooms and data centers. Antel also installs and maintains video security systems including cameras, alarms, and electronic entrance locks for businesses and residential properties. Call Antel 674-1406 or 783-9250.
We're back. And please share the live video because we are opening up the lines to for you to call in. If you would like to call in, that number is 769-4590. All of my shy callers, I would say take your time because I noticed that coming down to the end of the program, I get bombarded with calls and the first half an hour. I guess people don't want to be the first ones to open the lines, but the lines are open for you to call in and talk your talk. And while we wait for you to join us on the live, while we wait for any calls to come in, Michelle and I will continue the discussion. I saw this particular story that trade unions are now an essential service, and I asked Michelle that question. I said this makes absolutely no sense to me. I read the entire article from top to bottom, bottom to top, from the middle to the top, from the middle to the bottom. No way, no how, back to front. It still did not make any sense. I did not get, like, why? Why?
Right. That is the question, but my answer to that is the political games continue. Just as yourself, I read that article. I reread it, as a matter of fact, because I thought I missed something that you sent to me, and I wanted to be prepared. It made absolutely no sense. While one of our colleagues put on Facebook yesterday, what happens if you get a flat tire? Where's the car parts places? Why would the union be considered essential services at this state in our? But notice how they are deploying these phases. These phases are for political gain. We have the 1% that has been clearly covered in phase one, without a doubt. And now we're going to throw the little crumbs to the union, which is a good, part of, the voting percentage in terms. So we throw the biscuits out to them and say, we have considered you. But again, we are not considering the entire citizenry in this entire pandemic. We are considering those that are going to be of beneficial gain to our organization and not to the entire public. They have no purpose right now. There's not enough activity going on right now. As a matter of fact, I do have an update for you. Right now, I just a colleague of mine. Remember, I mentioned on Monday that there are slow temporary layoffs taking place at Heritage. A colleague of mine just got the letter yesterday. They are now slowly going on a almost 3 to 4 month temporarily unemployment. I didn't see it anywhere in the paper. It's being done very undercover. So while citizens continue to lose their jobs, what would the union? The union is clearly not serving the case for these employees down at Heritage. So what is the purpose?
I have no idea, and it is again. I read it and I didn't understand because what are they meeting about? What are they discussing right now? And on an average day, some of these unions seem to have very little power, you can say. They're very
Mhm.
good at, I mean, I think a lot of them they're good at making noise. A lot of them would, I'll never forget when Petrochin was about to shut down and Ansel Roger. Oh my God, he made
Oh,
such a loud
yes.
noise and marching and solidarity and the drums were beats and they marched from Point Fortin, not Point Fortin, from where? Petrochin,
Wait up here.
Point of Pain. March and Point of Pain to Port of Spain, and it was a great procession. It was almost like, the death of, and at the end of all of that, what? At the end
He
of all of that,
disappeared.
what?
He disappeared,
They
Felicia.
didn't.
That's what happened. He disappeared, and now he's come back into the forefront. Again, so convenient at election time. He's now come out to the forefront. He had the audacity yesterday to indicate that there was no fraudulent activity in this whole PDVSA visit. He was not present in the meeting. I did not see him. His name has not been mentioned. So for you to vouch and say there was no fraudulent activity on behalf of Paria Fuel with regards to this PDVSA meeting. So he's now being used as a political tool, as he's always been. He is not for the average employee, the welfare of the average employee, because as I've indicated yesterday, breaking news, that's in South, they are being laid off as we speak.
And why is this not making news? Why is the unions coming back making papers and not that information? Because just like you mentioned with him, and I made a post about him yesterday, I said, I can't believe that all of these OWTU supporters, again, I liken them, Michelle, to party
Hmm.
supporters. To me, they're just
Yes.
an extension of, and to Butler, that man who stood for justice and equality and equal treatment and fair treatment in terms of industrial relations, he would be mortified to see what trade unions have morphed into in this country. He would be mortified to see that they have become an extension of the very system against which he was
Yes.
fighting. And that is many unions represent right now. And I say this without mincing words. I don't like Ansel Roji, and I don't like him because he puts forward a facade of being for the people and working for the people, but he comes across to me as nothing more than a man who is self-serving, who has his interests in mind and is using and riding the backs of the people who support and prop up the OWTU for his own political gain. And I say his own political gain because had he not come out yesterday and said that about he did not believe that there was any fraudulent transactions in that whole Venezuela gas deal, not gas deal, shipment of
Right.
gas to
Right.
Venezuela via Aruba. He not come out and said that. I would have probably leave him alone. But you came out in what was clearly an underhand way of supporting the PNM. You
Yes,
came out as their last resort, their pit bull, and many members of the OWTU today remain very disenfranchised. They remain very angry and hurt by what the PNM have done to them. And I understand and I know very much that he's that person that is supposed to bring them back in and rope them back in. And this is where I say, don't let blind loyalty to the OWTU do what blind loyalty to the PNM and UNC has done to our country, because you will go down sinking. There's a particular young lady on my
exactly.
timeline, and I hope she's watching the show because she's a member of the OWTU. Oh, and she's like, oh, Roger, and he's fighting for the rights of the people. I said, darling, if he was fighting for the rights of the people, Patricia would have never shut down.
Never
And she
closed.
remains one of those people who believes that it is going to reopen. And I'm like, I hope you all know that there's a 99.9% chance that you will never, ever gain control of that refinery. That was thrown out to you. Come on. They deferred that payment knowing that you do
Exactly.
not have the money. Sure that there's some kind of clause that is written that if you can't pay for it, crap will smoke your pipe. And that is going to be the case. There's going to be some kind of clause or caveat that is
Yes,
going to make what they hold, and Michelle they holding on to it. This young lady, she believes that Roger is fighting on behalf of the people, and she believes that they're going to, what is it, patriotic. She believes
yes,
that post
yes.
COVID-19 that patriotic is going to be in the hands of the OWTU. And I mean, I don't know
You
how to
wonder,
break
you
it to her.
wonder. Yeah, you wonder,
I don't know
Felicia.
how.
And do you notice? Haven't you noticed? I think I sent you the link. That haven't you noticed? They have now put this subject back into the spotlight again as an election ploy. So now the headline yesterday, I believe, was in patriotic is scheduled to open in 2021. Again, as we referred to it on Monday, illusions of hope that you are going to get employment, illusions of hope that you will be back on track, because they know it's an election year. So then they have now put that subject of Petrotrin, former Petrotrin, back in the limelight as the bait for their loyalists and party loyalists and their union loyalists to bite. Basically, it's being thrown again. And so now it's 2021 that it is projected to open based on the COVID-19 situation. They have experienced a delay.
Every day that that refinery remains closed is another day that the cost of opening that refinery goes up. The longer, and this is from my own experience working in the oil and gas sector, having been on not platforms, having been on assets and having seen refineries and having seen the kind of maintenance and corrective action needed, having seen the process of restarting a plant that has been down for months versus over a year, as patriotic is entering into, Petrochin is entering into. I refuse to call that company patriotic, because it, in my opinion, it is Petrochin, and should a PDP government come into office, it will be reverted to Petrochin. And having seen what it is, the process of reopening a refinery entails, it gives me a sense of, I guess, doom, because I know that every day it remains as is every day is another day, sorry, that the people risk, well, especially the people who believe that it is going to be reopened and turned over to the OWTU. It's another day that the chances of that happening become even more slim. And I am waiting to hear that come 2021, the refinery is in such a state of disrepair that it can't be patriotic or WT or whatever, can't afford to bring it back to where it needs to be. So we're selling it to a Guyanese refinery firm who's now winner. I'm waiting to
Yes,
hear all of those, Michelle,
yes,
because
and you will hear it.
like I, because I'm becoming more and more aware of the political games that are being played, and I realize time is one of them. time passing, people forget. Time passing, people assets deteriorate. Time passing is more opportunity to work some other deal in the background. And when I say I don't like Ansel Roger, this is not anything personal. I have never met the man, but I do not believe he does not come across as a person who has the genuine interest of the people that he represents in mind. And when I say Uriah Butler would be very disappointed in where the unions have more, or what the
Yes.
unions have more. I hold on to that because when I look at the history of Trinidad and Tobago, when I look at the people that I call, real examples, he's one of them. And seeing what he fought for versus what we are being offered right now, in terms of leadership, in terms of people to represent the interests of the small people, I've seen how we have gone completely left of that. And I think I wish rather Ansel Roger would just come out and say, I am a PNM supporter. All of this that I did was just to
Mhm.
be. I really wish he would do that rather than lead so many people astray. But to the people that
That's
he's
right.
leading astray, again, like I said, put aside your allegiance to the OWTU and ask yourself the real question: does this man have my interest at heart? And I asked that question before I came into the Progressive Empowerment Party. Before I accepted the role of being a chairman, I asked all kind of questions throughout my journey here in the PP. I tell people the only reason you still see me here today is because I believe that this party has not just the country's interest in mind, but my interest in mind. And from the day that changes is the day that I am gone. It has nothing to do with Pep till I dead, Orange till I like. It has nothing. I don't know about loyalty
Right.
like that. Loyalty is equivalent to the loyalty that you invest in me. And if I see you going away from that, if I see you straying from that, what does me signing up as a member back in 2017 have to do with my loyalty? And people need to let go of this die-hard loyalty to anything
Yes.
because things change, people change. The unions that we know now were not the unions of 50 years ago.
And
I don't
Felicia,
want to say
why,
anymore.
we have to ask ourselves, why do we have this diehard loyalty to our political parties and to the union and to those that have failed us? We have a track record of failure. We have track records, decades of a country plagued by corruption. We have decades of billions of dollars unaccounted for. Why are we loyal to those? It's just as you indicated in a relationship. Would you stay in an abused relationship if you had a way out? And this is what we need to make citizens. Why are we staying in these abused allegiances and loyalties and relationships that have done nothing for us as a people, as a nation? Why are we standing up for the wrongs? We are just, if we see it, you and I see it on our threads. People coming at us left, right, and center. I see you're getting a phone call.
Yes. Hello, good morning. You are live on Pep Talk in the morning.
Good morning, Felicia.
Good morning.
My name is
Good
Charmaine
morning.
Perez,
Hi,
and I'm
Charmaine.
calling. Good morning. My name is Charmaine Perez, and I'm a first-time caller.
Hi.
I am calling from Brooklyn, New York.
Yes, you're one of our newest Brooklyn members. Good morning,
Yes,
Charmaine.
Morning,
I
Charmaine.
could relate to the die-hard PNM or the PNM USC. I my family is all PNM. They're all PNM. We knew nothing about anything else but PNM. Doesn't really matter what anybody say or what anybody do. It was PNM no matter what. And that is the norm of the Trinidad people. It doesn't really matter what PNM do. They're not going to turn the other cheek. They're going to go down as a PNM until their dying day. I don't have a problem with the PNM. I have a problem with the people that are in the PNM party and the things that they do. All those people, in my book, needs to be removed. They need to actually be removed. For 58 odd years, they're in Parliament. From one party to the other, they're going back and forth. It's like a roller coaster, back and forth, and it's no progress. People come, people go, people born, people die, and the country is still the same.
Yep.
They need to go. It's about time. COVID-19 is here, and guess what? This is the chance. Now is the time. We can all make the change. Every citizen of Trinidad and Tobago needs to stand up for the first time in their life. Let their voices be heard and make a change for their own betterment. That's my contribution to your show this morning. You
Thank
guys have a nice
Well,
Thank you very much for that, Shamin. Very, very, very much.
day.
This is Shamin. I see her on the call on the live ever so often. Actually, most days she's here.
most days I
And
hear, yes, yes.
hello, good morning. You're live on Pep Talks in the morning.
Hi, good morning. Adi here.
This is who?
So,
Sorry.
Adi repeat.
Hi, morning.
Hi. So the reason that people are PM is you have also heard
You're breaking up a little bit. Can you move? I know this is a WhatsApp call. Can you move probably closer to your Wi-Fi or
okay. Well, this is bad. Well, it is bad. So, are you here? You better?
I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you, but it's breaking up a little bit.
Alright, so I probably have to get off of network and I'll call you. Get off data and call you. Go back.
All right, you can call me back. The lines are open, right?
Yeah.
All right, so while we wait for that caller to call back, Chantal Mondi, good morning. I see you on the live. It is so I have to tell you, it's so warms my heart to see you on the live this morning. Welcome back. I know you took a little hiatus from Facebook. I did see your comment earlier that Stuart Young is not honorable. I completely agree with you. I was being very sarcastic and facetious with that title. I should have probably used air quotes, honorable Stuart Young. But I hope that the misinformation part would have revealed that I was not being very serious with that. Let me take this call. Hello, good morning. You're live on Pep Talks in the morning.
Hi, Adi again.
Oh, hi, Addy.
So this is it. What I was saying, the story of Deason. You ever heard of it?
The story of
Deason.
Devon? No, I don't know it.
Deason. Deason was the story in the Bible where Moses was leading the people out of Israel
Mm-hmm.
or Egypt, and there was this guy. His name was Deason, and his role was always to get the people back to the Pharaoh. So when Moses said, "Come, let's cross the river," he said, "No, let's cross the sea." He said, "No, I will let this man bring it to John, you bring it to John," and then Moses had to part the sea and show the people that it could be done. Trust in me, trust in what I'm saying. When Moses left and went to the mountain, he said, "Look, Moses, leave all that." Moses had to come back and say, "No, trust in me, trust in what I'm saying." So people like Roger, people like Fitzgerald Hines, people like Croco, people like their job is always to keep the people blinded, keep the people jaded, keep the people believing in this false philosophy of all they know, all they get, all they know, all they have, that kind of thinking. So until we move away from holding up these people, we'll forever be in this perpetual quagmire. And just as a side note, the one silver lining I could see in this COVID-19 is that at 8 o'clock, the place is quiet. The Belmont sector here is quiet. So I get to crank up my TV when Philip is on and drill Philip flint off into the neighbors' heads and passing by. I can't go into their joining and change the TV, but I can raise my TV and drill it into their head so they will get it by proxy. That is the one good thing I can see for this COVID-19. So I'm locked on and I'm listening.
Thank you very much, Adi. Very nice having you call in this
Ah,
morning. To call back during any of our other morning programs.
Okay, cool.
Exactly what he does, I do it as well. My I have the same device and I have playing the audio through. I have it on and it's really loud. I will sit down and I would let it play for the entire for my entire street to hear that PP has the solutions, that Edward Alexander is educating the public nightly. Maybe I should do the same for the pep talks in the morning show, but I say, you know what? Maybe I don't want to disrupt people so early in the morning. Let them tune in to listen if they have to. Who called a little bit earlier, she made us a statement that I echo 100%. I don't have a problem with that institution call. Okay, we have another call coming. Hello, good morning. You're live on Pep Talks.
Hello, good morning, Felicia. You hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Yes, I'm from Orlando in Florida.
You're calling from Florida.
Ma'am, yeah, keep talking about honorable this and honorable that, but none of these ministers in government or any other government, they don't know the meaning of honorable. So I don't know why it is we keep insisting that these people are honorable and they have to think of what the meaning of the word is.
Agreed.
Uh, I have been following and what guys about the only part that I think if to get the power will make a case. That is what Trinidad means. Uh, yes, PNM and the UNC are just a waste of time and spent energy. Uh, and they don't really construct the truth. That's my 2 cents for today.
All right, thank you very much. You broke up a little bit in the end, but like I was telling the callers yesterday, I've become very versed in translating broken up language in doing this show. You can listen off here if you'd like.
Thank you.
All right, bye bye. Of course, this thank you came through very clear because that is the irony of telephone communication. He called via
yes.
WhatsApp, so it was breaking up a little bit. He's from Florida, and he basically endorsed the PEP, woohoo, and said that the PNM and UNC are a waste of time. And I was saying earlier that I don't have a problem with the PNM Balize institution as it is. I have a problem with the people who are inside of the PNM who go in there and rather than try to change the system, just adopt the system and manipulate and figure out how to make the system even worse for their own benefit and their own gain. I was telling somebody, many people, several people, I have friends actually in the PNM who were very disappointed that I joined the Progressive Empowerment Party. They said, why don't you take your brains and you're a young black woman in the community, you know, why don't you take that and bring it to the PNM? I said, I don't understand how I can bring my ideas and my morals and my ethics to a party that is anything but ethical in their behaviors. And I'm saying the party because the party is not a physical thing, but the people who make up the party, who embody what the PNM has and is being viewed as right now, is the problem. And until they go, until all of them go, I will constantly be joining, or anybody who joins the PNM would constantly be a part of a system that is working against them. I watch Nicole Young, and I talk about her fairly often on this show, and she doesn't seem to like me very much. I don't know. Nicole, we don't have to be enemies. I think you're a very hardworking young woman, and not because we competed against each other back in 2018 means that I have anything against you. I have nothing against you. I think, though, let me take this call. Hello, good morning.
No, Felicia, no. I can't agree on this. I'm called back, but I couldn't help.
I do not agree with you at all.
On.
You not, give me three good things about the PNL.
I can't give you any.
Me neither. Me neither.
But let me ask
I,
the question. Let me ask this
but,
question. If
but
everybody from the name PNM was removed and you put everybody from the PEP, or we change our name to PNM, wouldn't that be different?
you can't put new wine in old skin. Bulldoze the whole of them into the sea. This is what I'm saying. Up till yesterday, I had a discussion. I was having a discussion with on the circular there's a hardware there, a
Hmm.
plumbing hardware.
Yeah.
I was having a discussion there with the guy from there. And he began I have intellectual discussions when I go to buy piece of pipe or whatever little hardware to buy. And he was like, he's telling me something. But he started on the premise of racism. The Indians this and the Indians would do this and give the Africans something to sell all the leaders. Like, you can't start off a statement and have it and let me side with you if you start off the statement with racism. It is innately racism and I can't side with you no matter what you say past that. You know? So
Yeah.
it's not an Indian and African thing. And yesterday I told him it's unfortunate, but all they had to did. All they had to wander in the wilderness and die off one by one for the country to progress. Because once it have the 1960s people and the 1970s people, they thinking that black black people is it, what the Indian, what the other.
Yeah.
We wouldn't progress because this thing is not racism, is a learned behavior. So until you look up past the racism and look at people at what they bring to the table, what they offer, what they have, what is the plans, what is the intentions. That is what you look at, not black because like Philip says,
Hmm.
the forest was shrinking, but the trees kept voting for the axe.
Yeah.
You understand? And that is it. So I'm not telling us.
All right, cool. Thank you very much for that contribution. For me, and the
Felicia,
reason
I
why
wanted
I
to
was,
say something. I wanted to
yes,
say
Michelle,
something
go ahead.
because
Sorry.
yeah, the color just resonates what I think I've been preaching since I got here. And the COVID-19 situation makes us realize, regardless of color, race, creed, we're all in this same situation. There's no deviation, there's no separation going on now as to who is hungry, who is not, who hasn't received the grant and who has. There's none. We're all experiencing the exact same issue together. And until we
Yeah.
realize that as a nation, I always give this example. When you go to the grocery store, they do not ask you for your party card, ladies and gentlemen. They do when you go to purchase gas, they do not ask you for your party card. When you don't have water in the pipe, WASA doesn't know whether you're red or you're yellow. Come on. We have to realize we are all experiencing the same issues. There is no racial division to the dysfunctionality occurring in this country. We all are victims of it. And we need to stand up against this racist, this savagery of racism we have in this country that continues to divide us and only benefits those that are elected in office. It is not benefiting the average person.
Indeed, very well said, Michelle. And think what I was trying to say earlier. The problem with PNM and the UNC as well, to me, has always been the leadership of the party, and it there's never been a leader, and particularly Keith Rowley. I've had to call him out on this a couple of times. There's never been a leader that I see that comes in and said, I want to really unite Trinidad and Tobago, whether it is black or Indian or white or whatever you are. I really want to unite Trinidad and Tobago. And Keith Rowley had several instances and occasions to really show that he cares about uniting this country, all of which he completely allowed to slide. So I very much believe that he is one of the people and one of the several people in terms of the leadership of the party who are holding on to this divide and conquer, divide and we will rule and keep black us as a black party and keep the UNC as an Indian party. so we can have our base and they can have our base. And we here in the Progressive Empowerment Party saying our base, it should be everybody. We are an all inclusive party. When you look at the cross section of the Progressive Empowerment
Yes,
Party, it is the most diverse membership that I have ever seen. Somebody sent me a message on Facebook recently. He asked, what is what PEP policies, he's a member of the Muslim community, say what policies does the PEP have for the Muslim community? I said, well, we don't have any policies specifically directed to the Muslim community, but we have policies geared towards the upliftment of all, because we believe that a rising tide lifts all boats. And we have as a country become very, I would say, pigeonholed, because each group which understands that their needs are not being addressed, they very much have to fight for the needs of their group. And I completely understand that, because that's how our politics has divided us. It has put us in a place of, I have to fight for the rights of my group, and I have to fight for the rights of my group. Whereas we as a party, we're saying it should no longer have to be a case where everybody feels like they have to fight for the interests because of their particular organization or their particular group or their particular creed or religious organization. That because they are now a part of a party, or they have voted a government into office that really believes in the needs of all. A rising tide lifts all boats. I love that saying, because that's
yes,
where Trinidad and Tobago needs to go. We need to go to a place where we have a system of government, a system of governance that is looking to build and to looking to uplift people all, just looking at the needs of everybody.
yes.
And that is what we have had lacking for the longest while. Yeah.
Exactly, Felicia. I mean, I want to, share my personal experience with PEP and, joining PEP and becoming part of a family. And, I was speaking to someone and they asked me why I got involved in this movement. And I said, when I'm with the PEP family, I feel whole. I feel part of the old Trinidad. I've never heard any racial undertones. I've never heard of us as a group, racially divided. As our saying goes, bring back the old days where we all were one. And when we are together, we are fighting for this country. We are not fighting for one particular group. We are fighting for all the citizens so that all the citizens will benefit from our policies and our first world strategic thinking. And, I just want to stress that we are such a diverse family, and I'm so proud to be part of this organization.
Me too. And it really does feel like a family organization here. I want to finish what I was saying about Nicole Young, who is the counselor for Belmont. And I was making the comment that I have several friends that I went to university with who have now gone on to be a part of the, I'm getting a call here, but it's on Messenger, Facebook Messenger. So I'm not sure if this is for Pep Talk in the morning. If you are watching me live and you're calling me on Messenger, please call on WhatsApp 769-4590. Just because I'm not certain if this is supposed to be for Pep Talks in the morning. Um, and I was saying that they encouraged me. I even had, a pastor in my local community tell me, why not join the PNM and take your ideas there? And I saw recently the same Nicole Young. I see her lamenting a lot on Facebook that as part of the local government, she works so hard, but she gets very little done because she doesn't have the resources and the tools at her disposal. And I wonder if she understands that her statement is very, it's an oxymoron. What she's saying is, you're saying that, great is the, but you're also complaining that you don't have the tools and the resources to do your job. And I pity her sometimes, and not in a looking down on her way, but I pity that she doesn't understand that the reason why she is caught in a system that doesn't work, even though she wants it to work, is because she's a part of a political organization. She's part of a government, a local government system that is not set up to work. And had they wanted to work. They would have made it work. And
Yeah.
a lot of what we talk about, Michelle, is pure basic political will. If a
Mhm.
government had the political will to change the things as they are in Trinidad and Tobago, best believe it would have changed. If the political leader and now Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago wanted to unite the PNM and wanted to unite the races across Trinidad and Tobago, it would have been done.
Yes.
If they wanted to fix local government so that it can really work, so that the burgesses could be their needs could be met and dealt with, so that the waterways would be clean, so that we would not be projecting flood. Like, it is mind blowing to me listening to Siguni read the forecast for the next 6 months and forecast
Yes.
flood when we know
Yes.
that the problems are dredging the rivers, cleaning the waterways. I mean, it is mind boggling to me building reservoirs to catch the excess water so that it doesn't flood our cities, because
Yes.
apparently all of that is a lagoon now. It's not just South and Caroni like we like to see. We know the
Right.
solution, but it's not being done because there has been a complete lack of political will. And there is a lack of political will. People understand this. There is a lack of political will because fixing things means that the kickbacks and the
Mhm.
corruption, the nepotism and
Mhm.
the white collar crime and the involvement in money laundering and the narcotics trade. It means that all of that, the gravy train that is just running through this country, fixing things means that those things would be over. Bringing procurement legislation, and when I say procurement legislation, not writing the bill and leaving it to sit there for 4 years, collecting cobwebs and dust on the attorney general's
Mhm.
desk. Bringing procurement legislation means an end to giving contracts to friends and financiers of your political organizations. You think these people don't know this information? You think they don't have it?
Of
So
course.
that they don't want to
Yes.
implement it? Everything in this
They're
country
not
that
going
doesn't work
to.
is for a reason. They're not going to.
Yeah, they're not going to, Felicia, because as you indicated, should they execute political will and interest of the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, the opportunity for greed will disappear. The opportunity for corruption will disappear. Up to last night, I was cringing as Sigourney was giving the weather forecast. And I put a post in on one of my pages. Has your MP counselor taken the proactive measures to prepare you for floods that are expected in under a month? And no one responded. So I'm assuming the answer is no. So in the next few months, we will see the distressing pictures of people flooding out of their homes. We will see delivery of cheap mattresses and cheap hampers, and they will give them a pat on the back, and they will wait again till next year to repeat the same cycle of pittance to the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago instead of fixing the problem. Someone contacted us yesterday about illegal landfills in Debe, right? That it's a major issue. And, we try to refer the person back to, the counselor, the MP, and so forth. But she said no one is taking that on. No one is addressing that issue. And it does contribute to the rainfall and the flooding that they experience. So as you indicated, they just don't want to do this. And until we realize this, that they're not going to do anything in advantage for us as citizens, they will remain in power and we will continue to get the abuse that we get.
Never let a good crisis go. Realize, if you have not yet picked up on this, citizens of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, a crisis is a perfect opportunity for all kinds of theft and mismanagement to happen.
Mhm.
To this day, there has not been a proper accounting for the flood relief for the residents of um, Greenville.
Greenville?
There
Yes.
have been there have been reports of people who would have deceived the system and gotten money that they were not supposed to get, and it it is almost too perfect in its layouts in terms of the way things happen to not be deliberate. It's almost too crazy to not be deliberate. I will use that word for lack of a better word right now because again, if you fixed Michelle, I have to wonder how deep these people's intentions really lie. Because when you look at the situation now, when we built Greenvale on a floodplain, when we built it on the
Hmm.
banks of a area prone to flood, when the top geologists and people who supposed to know these things and engineers and people in the construction industry went and they built an entire HDC community on the banks of a river on a floodplain, I tell myself they had to know, they had to have known this at some point in during some rainy season, during some weekend where it rained a little extra hard, they had to have known it was going to flood. And knowing this information, did they go ahead and still deliberately build the community there, knowing that at some point when it does flood, we're going to have to issue relief. And when we do issue relief, we could get a little couple million there because we could have a couple
Yes,
fake um who I have you have to ask
yes,
these questions well because like I say it seems too well set up to not be deliberate. And that statement, never let a good crisis go to waste. We're seeing it happening here
yes.
with the COVID-19 experience. We see it happening with everything. I mean, it, it blows my mind that we live in 6 months of drought and then we project 6 months of flood. It blows my mind that we do this year in, year out, year
Air
in,
out.
year out, year in, year
Yes.
out. It is like we are on a stuck record, and it is just unbelievable that we haven't yet, or some citizens haven't yet caught up to the fact and the idea that most of this is deliberate. Most of this is
And
deliberate.
Felicia Wassa is still going to tell us that we have to, refrain from excessive water usage in our time of flooding. We're still going to
Yeah.
get that notice. So we're still going to get these. But you know what? In being in Trinidad and, having had the privilege to travel, many parts of the world, I really seriously question the level of competency in Trinidad because we and Progressive Empowerment Party, we talk about it amongst ourselves, we put it in the public. We so-called have individuals with PhDs and all these degrees that sound so fancy, but yet our incompetence level, as you give Greenvale as an example, but we see, let's take Wassa, we see a road being paved, and then 2 days later we see WASA digging up the road. Who's in charge? Who's the engineer? Who's in charge of the planning? Who's in charge of the proactive approaches to save us money as a country? So we cannot assume, and we must assume at this point that all of the actions that happen in this country are deliberate. Hence the reason we refer to it as deliberate incompetence, because there's no way on the face of this earth, having all the world examples that we have available to us at the click of a button, do we continue to demonstrate this level of incompetency as a group of 41 elected officials? No one seems to know the answer, as the caller indicated. No one seems to know the answer. No one seems to know the answer for their constituency, the answer to take us forward as a country. So we must assume, Felicia, it is deliberate because it is. It is an opportunity for greed and corruption.
Indeed. And I'm going to take a caller from, oh, you can call me back. I was just letting, I'll wrap up what she was saying. It's one of our callers who is he called in twice already for the morning. I think yes, he called in twice already. So if you would like to call back, we will take you as the last caller, or anybody else who wants to call within the next 5 minutes before we wrap up the program for the day. It's been a very in-depth discussion on everything wrong in this country, and I mean, I hope we have been able to tell you how PEP could make it right, how we would do it differently. I mean, we're talking about flooding and the simple solution, Michelle, which solves both the flooding and the drought problem, which is catch all the rain during the period of flood, store it, treat it, distribute it so that we have it in the period of drought. It is, I mean, I think was it Philip? Philip said it is, and he said this, and it was so real. Imagine you standing up to your knee, up to your waist in flood water, and you open your pipe and there's nothing coming out. Caller, good morning.
Hi, good morning again.
Good morning again. Yes.
Hi. I think it's one of the drawbacks of this country
What's that?
that that too few people get to see what's outside. They just know what's here and they believe that this is the real. When you go outside, when you migrate for any period and you go, you got to come back. Among the first things you realize is, wow, you had no idea what coal was. That is, that is the first thing that you realize. You had no idea what coal was. Two, one of the other things that you realize is, well, they ask yourself is, why? How come? How come I could turn on my pipe and get water? Because in England they have no tank, in Scotland they have no tank, in the States they have no tank, they have no tank, they have no tanks. It's line whoever the municipal corporation is over there that sends water to the tap and you open it on in Canada, the same thing. Canada is cold, so you can have no tanks. These people get water 24/7. Why can't we have water 24/7 if we are surrounded by said water 24/7? Another thing I realize is that a lot of the people, like 75-60% of the people, if they had an opportunity to leave this country and have the same standard of life that they have here, they would leave it. I know Trinidad was such a good place. If the government was doing such a good job that so people would choose to stay.
Yeah.
I am seriously contemplating leaving this country by the end of, well, it was going to be this COVID. So next year, if things don't improve in this country, because it's getting overbearing and ridiculous. And I think that if Philip becomes president, prime minister, I hope that he makes it possible, like build a couple houses across the world, and people, the less fortunate, who could afford to leave but can't afford to stay, build places. So I'll get housing, whatever, and you can go see, go experience, go see what it's like out there. So when you come back, bring fresh again, fresh perspective back to Trinidad to see that it could work here. Those things, garbage could be picked up, transportation could be run, transportation could run on time, because it does. In Scotland and England, every 20 minutes there's a bus. The tram runs on time, the underground runs on time. Why in Trinidad, if transportation would run on time in Trinidad, more people would take it.
Yep.
And it wouldn't have so much cars and taxis because the buses would run on time. But you have buses running whenever they feel. A bus comes now, it might come again. You would stand up in the bus station for hours, 2 hours, 3 hours waiting on a bus to go San Fernando, Point Fortin, Branches, wherever, because it doesn't run on time. Yeah. Why? This country is deliberately broken by design.
Yes.
Like Michelle Davis there, she says that a lot. Broken by design, deliberate incompetency. Thank you very much for that that contribution, caller. Michelle, anything you wanted to say on that?
Exactly what he said. I mean, we had the opportunity to experience efficiency, productivity, effectiveness. Hence the reason majority of Trinidadians that leave this country do not return. They still try to remain loyal to their parties, but they will not return to this country because of the incompetency level that we continue to experience as citizens. So I agree 100% to the caller. Things have to get better because it is on a downward spiral of getting worse.
Indeed. And he said something there about the public transportation. My first real job, when I say first real job, I did an internship before that. That was my first paying job. My first real paying job that wasn't an internship. I was in Chaguanas, and I live Belmont, and the commute was against traffic, so I wasn't opposed at all to having to go Chaguanas. because I know I would be going against traffic. I didn't have a vehicle at the time, and I used to use my mom's vehicle. There were a couple times that I tried to travel, and on the days that I could not use her vehicle, and it eventually led to me having to purchase my own vehicle because as much as I was going against the traffic, getting transportation from Belmont to Chaguanas was the most difficult thing. It actually got me written up in work because in order to get to where I worked, I used to have to cross the highway, and I worked in a company that was very much attentive to safe man hours, and someone saw me crossing the highway because there was no walkover. They saw me crossing the highway and they said, that's a very dangerous activity. And I said, well, there was no other way for me to get to the office other than having to cross the highway. And I think about how cumbersome public transportation is in this country, the way the network is set up, that you sometimes have to take two, three, even four different vehicles just to get to
Yes.
where you live. And sometimes it well, not in retrospect, sorry, and when you look at it, you 20 minutes or half an hour away from where you need to be. But because the way things are set up, so badly set up, you can't access or you can't get to where you reach without having to pay an exorbitant amount of money or do like me and cross the highway like a headless chicken, like I had to. I would have rather take a bus, or if there was a maxi going to where I was going, I would rather have done that rather than make the expensive investment that I had to make at the time, which was purchase a vehicle. But again, these small little simple things that might seem like not a non-issue to some people is an issue to some people, because I had to take over nearly 2 years to save up that money to even make the down payments on a car. What about the people who can't do that? What about the people who have to depend
Mhm.
on public transportation every day? They have to depend on the fact. I remember when I used to travel to school, I went to school in the east, and almost every day I would be in the, well, I guess our local form of detention, and my my headmistress at the time was constantly on my case about reaching to school late, and no matter how I tried to explain it to her, which was miss, the cars that coming down to pick me up in Port of Spain have to spend an hour and a half in traffic, and I have to spend an hour and a half waiting on the taxi stand for them to clear there for me to then take a taxi to come to school. And I mean, to her that was no excuse in her mind. Rather than stand up on the
Right.
stand for 6, maybe stand up on the stand for 5. That was, of course, impractical for me as a young child at that time, but it is a reality that, again, for some people may seem very silly, may seem like a non-issue, but it impacts the way we live and operate as citizens, and it impacts your overall quality of life, and it impacts how you feel as a citizen of this Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. It separates those who can't afford and those who can't. All of this boils down to a country that does not work properly. And just like the caller say, if you look outside, if you experience what it is like outside, where if the bus say coming for 5:30, you better be there by 5:25 because it will be passing
Mhm.
you at experience that, and you come back here to wait an hour and a half for a taxi to come to pick you up, you would say this is not acceptable. And just like you say, maybe we should have some kind of program where all of our citizens can go abroad. Anyway,
Yes.
Michelle, I'll give you this time to wrap up before we read our poll results of the day.
Okay. Well, it has been an informative show, and I really hope, as citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, we really start to take the opportunity to really ask the relevant questions. And as we did today, especially with the $934 million, we were the only party to really break it down for you and where that money was going. So continue to ask the relevant questions, continue to follow us at the Progressive Empowerment Party. We are here to educate and inform. We do want a better nation, and I believe with your vote, with your assistance, with your support, we can make Trinidad great again. Thank you.
And thank you as always for joining me on the program, Michelle. Our poll results today, we asked the question, are you happy with government expenditure on social relief for COVID-19 to date? 6% of you said yes, 94% of you said no, you are not happy with the government expenditure. And I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. We broke down the figures for you. We told you how much money went to social relief, and it's like I said, it's pretty self-explanatory. I would like to thank all of you for joining us on the program this morning. We have another new segment. Since starting this show, I've been receiving a lot of calls and messages from people who want to, get their issues addressed, who are sending me news stories that you're not seeing covered in the news. I would like to open up my phone and myself. Please don't call me after 9 p.m. in the night to your stories. Anything you would like to see covered on the show, please reach out to me. I would be happy to discuss it, raise it once it's an important issue that affects us here as Trinbagonians of this country. Once it affects us here as Trinbagonians. Sorry, I'm tired and I clearly did not make enough coffee this morning. Thank you for joining us. And like I say, send me your stories. I would be happy to have them covered. During this period of COVID-19, let's always remember to stay together by staying apart. I will see you tomorrow. Bye bye.